Okay, we're recording now, ladies. I am very excited to come together with you today and hopefully at many future days and meetings. So I would like to introduce Zuzanna Vee, and she is an experiencer of non-human intelligence and perhaps other. We may get to unraveling more of that and revealing more of that as we speak today. And you are currently living in Virginia, correct?
Virginia. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
With friends. I'm a nomad.
You're a nomad.
Yeah.
Me too. So welcome, Zuzanna.
Thanks.
And also we have here Jeannie. She used to be called Jeanne Schraff when I first interviewed her a few years back, and now she's Jeanne Phillips. Welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting. I'm glad to be here.
And it's exciting for me to have you here. I can't even remember what year it was. Was it 2018 that we spoke? You were my first evolution of an experiencer episode.
Oh, I didn't
believe.
realize I was your
I
first.
think
That's cool.
so, or maybe second. I can't remember right now. But it was a joy to meet you and find you and relate with you, just as recently I've done with Zuzanna. So where are you living now, Jeannie?
I am still in Western Maryland, at another farm very similar to where I was before, just actually about 10 minutes down the road, but I'm nearly a nomad, so I can relate a lot to stories that you have shared.
Yes.
Recently, well, actually, it was a year as of April 1st where my divorce was officially finalized. So
on April 1st?
For me, yeah, April 1st.
This April 1st or last?
Yes, yeah, a year ago.
A year ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, the changes started to occur 2 years prior, so.
Right, right. Yeah. We did talk a little bit about that in our conversation.
Yeah.
The changes we go through. So yes, welcome, and I'm excited about, tapping back into, where you are on your journey now at this point since we last spoke. So I'd like to just invite us to close our eyes, and let's just allow ourselves to breathe deeply up through the bottoms of our feet. And sink down as we exhale, sink down into our bodies. Really feel that anchoring in our attention, anchored in our body, our presence anchored in our bodies. And breathe in again. And go ahead and keep that deep breathing as I say a few words. Father, Mother, God, I'm asking for this presence to be here now and available for us. As we come together in our sacred truth-telling, our willingness to be present and to share who we are and what we know, what we've learned over the course of these very unusual lives. And I ask that this heart of heaven and heart of earth be available to us now as we bridge both and we remember how to bring back these aspects of ourselves now, strengthen that here, so that we may be of service in these extraordinary times. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Jeannie, I want to invite you to just begin to share. It doesn't have to be in a linear way. I'd really love to know, what is it that excites you about this moment in time? And while that may sound, irreverent, to say excitement about this time, I believe in talking to other experiencers that we are feeling a little bit of both. We are feeling the potential for creation now, for recreating ourselves, and we're also feeling the pain, because we are deeply empathic people. So feel free to speak about what's happening with you now, what you're feeling now, and then dive back into your past if you would like to bring in some of the experiences that you've had that inform who you are now and who you are becoming.
Well, that's such a great question, and thank you. Before I start, just wanting to be really present. I have a cat who is trying to get in the window. I want to make sure that's not a distraction.
Okay, sure.
Picking at the wire on the window. So were you able to hear that on the audio? Because I can ignore him as long as he's.
Oh, do you want to let him in? Is that what it is?
Do you mind?
I don't mind at all. He wants to be here.
Yeah, he's going to be a nuisance, I think. So hold on, give me just a second.
No problem.
Yay, kitty energy.
I know. He's like, let me in. Is
yeah.
this finally happening? Yeah.
He feels it.
Yeah. So yeah, you do. It does look like you have a very sunny day there.
Yeah, I've got the shade down, so I'm not like in, strong sunlight.
Yeah.
It's very windy too. The wind is coming off the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it's like really windy. It's just gorgeous, amazing.
Yeah. I live near the mountains as well. The Olympic Mountains, and they are stunning.
Yeah,
Stunningly beautiful. It's such a gift to live in this spot in the Pacific Northwest, just simply because of the beauty of
yes.
So
I felt that today when I was walking back across from doing my qigong outside, and I was like, wow, if I had to be stuck, somewhere, I've never been in a more beautiful place.
Stuck.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's no problem at all. Is he okay now? Is he feeling better?
Yes,
okay.
That's just his way of communicating. He'll hang on the screen, and then if you don't respond, he goes to the window by the front door and so
okay.
I was afraid that would get picked up on the audio. So thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, so let's just breathe and return back to that space, and feel free to proceed when you feel ready.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that really is a great question, and one that I'm very conflicted about. I've had a lifetime of being in this place where I have one foot in this reality, having a human life, and one foot in this other reality, having all of these experiences that didn't fit. And the way I navigated through that was to kind of chunk them into these boxes and let them sit, not really bring them out unless it's an interesting dinner conversation with a little bit of wine. I love a good grocery teas. So I've already had that split in me. So with what's going on right now, I'm experiencing really two sides to this. That human part of me that has lived this very rich life is feeling profoundly sad, and I can feel the connection is through me and the losses that I feel personally, but also being a very empathic person, I can feel the weight and the heaviness, the fear and sadness that's out there. So that's been very difficult these past few weeks, and I've been on a real roller coaster with it because that part is very low, but then the other foot that is over here in this other world is going up, so the contrast, the split seems to be expanding. This other piece that is connected to this other, what I call the greater reality, it's like somebody's turned the light bulbs on. It's charged. It was always there. I was always connected to that. I was moving in and out of these experiences that I've had trouble my entire life to put words to, that give them, to justice, or really be able to describe them in a way that is you know, that lands on people. It's something that you really can't articulate very well. But right now that's even more challenging because that part has expanded more and is going up. So there's the profound sadness of the human experience and this great excitement within the part of me that is connected to reality, because I know that the changes, the potential transformation that we're facing is extraordinary. And I even know that I can't really know what that is. Mm-hmm. Just feel the joy in it, the potential joy within it. So it's definitely challenging, even for somebody like me who I've had this, you know, decades now of juggling these two lives, juggling these two worlds. And I really felt like I had gotten to a place where I was pretty okay with it, you know. It's like, okay, I can do this. I can do it. I can live a normal life. You know, I say that word very big quotes around it.
Sorry, we're just laughing. We're laughing with you, not at you.
Right, yes.
And still explore and do what I feel that I'm here to do, as far as participating in being of assistance in some way to navigate through these changes. And I felt I was doing that somewhat, you know, on an invisible level. You know, and I felt that because I kept these two pieces separate, because I chunked them into boxes, I didn't talk about it much, there was a big part of me that felt invisible my entire life.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So one of the things that struck me in a conversation that you had recently on one of your recordings, Eileen, was this idea of creating a space where we can find each other and become more visible, and also to strengthen the language that we use and that we are able to communicate with, to make this greater reality more accessible for everybody, that it's not just, you know, that us kind of dotted around the world having these experiences, right. But we're here to create a connection and a platform for others to learn and feel safe in doing so, and dip their toes in the waters and let go of the old in a way that's without judgment. You know, it's not like the changes that are occurring because this is bad, that's good. It's just a transformation.
Right.
So I think going back to that question of what is exciting to me within that, one of the things that I have felt called to, which feels again very similar to what you've been speaking about, is rallying this group that's out there, this population of people who have had this split life, where they've lived a life and it may look really pretty normal from the outside, yes, but yet had all of these experiences or connections or feelings with a greater something that they can't really explain, or they don't feel safe to share. And I feel that part of my role is to help them come out, you know, and to create a network of connections where we support each other. And I have had I'm very visual. A lot of my experiences have been visually based. And one of the things that I've seen now for going on probably 3 to 5 years, where I see the earth from a distance, like this globe, and then I see these little points of light, and they're scattered. They're, you know, they're not one is close to another. Mm-hmm. I feel like this represents all of the experiencer type people out there who are in much greater numbers than we realize. I mean, that's the other piece that has been very clearly shared with me as far as kind of the messages and feelings that I receive. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of us. A lot. Of that. And I call them the quiet ones. And, you know, it's this, the excitement piece is knowing that it's beginning, you know, that I'm just kind of getting goosebumps right now. It has begun. Not that it's going to be overnight, or, you know, the changes are going to become really obvious and clear as far as where this is going, but that the process has begun. And the timing of that means that the quiet ones are coming out.
Yes.
You know, it's time for the voices to be heard. And it's exciting to me to feel that, kind of being on the edge of that right now, being at the beginning stages of that. So yeah, that part is like really, really turned on. And then, but I fall hard. I mean, even this morning because I'm on a farm and I take care of horses, I was walking through the woods, just tears, just falling, because the sadness is so much deeper and further.
It's a grieving. It's a grieving.
It is.
And we have to give ourselves permission to release that. It's for us and it's for the collective as well.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, because I feel like that's part of it, being in this place where we know there's more, that we are here strategically placed, scattered all over the place. It gives the process the opportunity for us, or it gives the process itself support, because we can transmute that energy. It's like you feel it, you know it, you're in it, and you're like, wow, okay. In the face of whatever's around me, my local life circumstances look from a judgmental old worldview, scary or threatening or profoundly sad, but to be able to know that the connection you have to this greater reality is stronger, that we're able to process it. And literally I can feel the story itself, like that, you know, the caterpillar in the cocoon, it's melting. And every time we can sit through an old story version of anything that typically would bring about fear or pain or suffering, that we're dissolving part of that, a piece of that.
Yes.
For everything. So to be able to know that I can play even if it's a tiny little role in that, it's a great honor.
It is. And you speak so beautifully. It's really beautiful. Thank you. And so I have one of the things that if I may respond, and then I want to invite you into another direction. But I want to respond and add to a piece that you spoke of, this great pain that many experiencers have been able to share, you know, with each other over the past few years, for myself anyway. That feeling, pain of invisibility, that pain of the split. We had to learn how to, you know, show up in the world and fit in and keep consistency, you know, with an identity that was acceptable, right, in the world, for you know, sustenance, and for feeling safe here, and feeling like, okay, do I really belong here? I'm not sure, because I've been exposed to this connection to something greater and grander, with extraordinary levels of love that inform me that I am more. Okay, and then and then living with that contrast in the old world. So I want to just share that my vision now, and what I've been informed of from this love on a consistent basis, is that these beautiful points of light that you mentioned all over the globe, far more than any one of us individually may really grok at this point, is that we've arrived on this plateau, and we're being given permission to speak from an empowered space, an anchored space, a space of being tethered to that greater reality, that we can help inspire others to move in this direction if they choose. and it's just unfolding as we go. It's not some great and grand plan that we like, let us bring this all out and reveal to you, you know. It's something that unfolds through communion. And I consider this a communion with the three of us. This is where more data can emerge. So the place that we are now is we're no longer turned back towards the direction of consensus reality in a disempowered place of explaining or convincing. Okay, do you relate to that?
Yeah.
We're here to be present, we're here to invite, but we can no longer drain off our energy or apologize for who we are and what we've experienced and what we have to offer. Not as a, you know, look at me, I'm an experiencer, I'm special. It's simply, for some reason, many of us went through lives like this, and we've had to pretend that we didn't. And that could have killed us and probably killed some of us. This lying, this pretending, and the draining of energy. So I just want to emphasize this now, that we no longer need to apologize. We can be this now, because the world needs for us to be who we are, and needs the truth now more than ever, because this is the time we have all known was coming. Maybe not the exact parameter, you know, I didn't know it was going to be a pandemic, but I did know that we were going to, our lives were going to have a near-death experience. The globe was going to have a near-death experience where our lives, collective lives, are interrupted, right? We have to recreate ourselves now. So that was in response to your beautiful articulation of what it has felt like to be an experiencer and you know, even a female experiencer in this world. It has its own unique twist or flavor, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you for letting me go off on that. I just felt, I woke up with that this morning, and I really needed to articulate it, and I didn't want to lose it. Which happens. So I wanted to ask you, Jeannie, there is our video, you know, of our conversation. And I really encourage people to go and listen to that, to really absorb what some of your experiences were. What would you say was the experience or experiences for you that most informed and continues to inform who you are now? Like you integrated something greater from those experiences, and you bring it into this now.
I don't know that I can answer that. I feel like, you know, I kind of went through the Rolodex as you're asking the question. This one, and all of them.
Oh, of course.
It's like all of them added a facet to this prism of perspective that is just as valuable as the other. And I don't know.
Essence.
The underlying carry through message of all of them is connection and unconditional love. And it, you know, I've talked about it. I hear myself saying it even now, and it always, though it's changing, but it always feels fluffy, you know, depending on the conversation that I'm in and how it's landing on the other side. that this experience of being invisible my whole life, and yet knowing the profound impact of what unconditional love, unconditional acceptance really means. That it's not a platitude, it's not an emotion, it's not an idea of how we relate. It's a verb for me, and the experiences that I had with it were physical. It fills the cells physically. It fills you from the inside out, and there's nothing that we can do here on an intellectual level to really understand that or comprehend it. So what I have found recently with all of the changes that are happening, this full stop we're facing on a global scale, the opportunity that I see with that is go within, and again, that in the past, that sounded like another kind of esoteric, that's, something that wealthy people have time for. They learn how to meditate, or, somebody removes themselves from society because who knows why, from an old world perspective, it just doesn't make sense. But now the combination of being forced inside, so it's like physically stop moving, and also the uncertainty, all the old ways of dealing with my problems aren't working and the world's falling apart. So people are more open to something new, and that feels precious to me. Mm-hmm. I find myself, because a lot of times I'll be in conversation and then I'll either be able to listen to it again later, or I'll sort of remember the echo of it, because many times I'm in conversations and I don't really remember exactly what I've said, but I can kind of recall it later. But it's this, I'm hearing myself say over and over, go inside your house and stop moving around. That's the message that we're being told. You see the house as your body is your house. So go inside your house, go inside your body, and stop moving, literally. Yeah. Stop moving. Because one of to answer your question, I guess where this is leading to, and I didn't have that one in my Rolodex when you first answered it, was one of the messages I received from non-human intelligence was, be quiet, be still, listen. Very, very pointed, very clear, very literal. Be quiet, be still, and the be still is hard to do. It's like, can you literally just stop moving the body? Just stop moving it. How long can you sit still with the body? So what I'm finding myself coming back to is those types of experiences that brought that connection to this profound experience of unconditional everything, unconditional acceptance, unconditional love. And to be able to crack the door open for anybody else who's ready to receive that, it's now. And it's this looking at it as a metaphor, but also in a literal sense, go inside your house, stop moving around, go inside your body, stop moving, and listen. And when you connect, when you have a direct experience of this other that we're talking about, that we get in these conversations about and try so hard to articulate, and kind of reaching into the cracks and crevices to pull out something more profound,
Yes.
I wasn't.
I know, it's exhausting.
Right. It is. But it's the opportunity that is present right now for everybody to be able to know themselves. Because we and I say that too. I could talk to them blue in the face. It's not going to mean anything.
Right.
Until you have a direct experience of it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. That's probably one of them. Well, I'm really there's three in my mind. One was with the light, that was very much like a near-death experience. So that was the first really, really big experience of unconditional love and acceptance that I'm talking about. But then these direct messages of how to bring that back. Of quiet, be still, listen.
Yes. Beautiful. So what are you doing and being now in your life? You're working with horses, you're living on a ranch.
A farm. I don't know that.
Okay. Okay.
It's about acres.
How many acres?
50. Yeah, a little over 50.
Oh, that's pretty ranchy to me.
Yeah. I'm not very active with the horses right now, though that is part of what I do, which is, again, to try to facilitate a direct experience with a presence that is more profound than what feels familiar to people. And using big animals, such as horses, is very, they're just great facilitators with that. They bring it to the table, and you can't ignore it. So that's a piece of it. But what I've been doing more of lately is building out this message of looking at fear, looking at anxiety as being purposeful. And it's so interesting because it's been leading up to this point, and I didn't know that, how things unfold, like you were talking about starting your conversations and podcasts, and it kind of fell flat a little bit, and starting again, and then realizing, oh wow, no, it's perfect because it's now.
Right.
For the past couple of years, I've been creating content, and I have a website called Anxiety Has Purpose, and I was drawing on my experience of having gone through a really hard 3 to 5 years of dealing with severe anxiety and panic attacks when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. The irony of that, in the middle of that, I had one of my more profound experiences with non-human intelligence, getting the message, you will help people because of your lack of fear. And I can remember just pushing back against that, like, what? I'm a walking poster child for fear. I can't go to Walmart without. So that has been, kind of, you can see the universe has a sense of humor as well too.
Oh, for sure.
To me.
Oh, yeah.
But this content that has been coming through was the anxiety piece. It was wanting to connect to this population of people I call the quiet ones, who I feel carry a lot of anxiety because of this split experience, because of the normal human side, and then this other that just, what do I do with that? And the pressure of trying to keep it contained gets to be where it's too much, and anxiety can be a kind of an outcropping of that. So that's my doorway in, to try to find a big chunk of these people. And I felt very inspired and was writing a lot. And then another more specific version of that was called Panic to Purpose. I'm like, yes, that's it. But then this part of me, no, I don't really think it's about connecting with somebody really suffering with panic attacks. I'm not, excluding anybody, but I was confused until now, because it's the collective panic. It's the collective climate, the emotional climate that was being drawn to speak to that, is I guess what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that, okay, what was the question I was answering? What have I been doing? So yes, the horses are a piece of it, but it's been a lot of writing, a lot of content creation. I started my own little podcast just a few weeks ago.
Nice.
Diving into these conversations as well. So, that is the thread that I'm carrying through, is taking a different look at what fear really represents. Because for me, what I feel it is giving us is this invitation to become more of who we are, just exactly what you said. Because anytime something is suppressed or kept under wraps or put in a neat little box with a nice little label, okay, that was a ghost, it takes energy. It takes effort. It takes this away.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then it's like this, I'm looking away from it, and now you have this pressure of something, and then it kind of builds into this fear. Or we're able to unpack those pieces and just be who we are, then the less the anxiety and the fear has a hold on us. And being able to move through that as a group, and then I get excited, because that's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
The potential for transformation is truly off the charts.
Yes, and we do feel our purpose now more than ever. And we knew it was coming, but remember all those times where it's like screaming at the sky and like, what the fuck is this about? And then just falling back into that trust. Well, okay, I know that immense love is guiding me. I don't have the details, I don't have the answers, but I do trust that it will be understood. At some point, this will come together. And that's where we're sitting now. And it's just so wonderful delightful to hear it, hear you share it through your world and your reality and your unfolding. That's part of the excitement of conversations like this, is we get to be a witness for each other in this, sacred sharing of the truth.
And I want to thank you again for providing this kind of space to do that, because I think these conversations are so key for being able to grow our confidence.
Yes, absolutely.
True.
Yeah.
Because I can look at my story and this habit of being invisible, keeping a part of me on the inside and not visible to others. It got to a point where I didn't know I was doing that. And I think that is probably true for a lot of people. You don't even know. I really thought, okay. I had worked through my anxiety. I really didn't carry a lot of fear. I had to plug my laptop in. But I had gotten so good at it, so good at this kind of shape shifting into what other people are comfortable with, making myself palatable for the outer world. Yes. Was even sharing my experiences, but I would put them in a little rose-colored saran wrap around it so that they could look at it and not feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And this is the story of my divorce, because what happened to me is I got a knock on the door, and I was a human being standing in front of me who could see me instantly, but I didn't know I wasn't being seen prior to that moment. Yeah. So
very well said.
It was shocking. The whole process, those 2 years of learning how my participatory role in that was hard to see. And, the having to walk that walk was very difficult. Mm-hmm. But I remember the analogy I used, I was talking to a retired therapist of mine. I said, I have to leave. That was the conversation. I need some support. I have to leave. And I told her, I said, I feel like there's a bulldozer behind me, and I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, and it's not going to stop. I can't not. And that was the realization. I can't not. Mm-hmm. And I can see many examples, more easily navigatable examples of that prior to that big event in my life, the whole way. And it is what gives us the ability, again, to build this confidence in knowing that there is something more moving through us. There's a greater purpose to all of our experiences, and that, yes, we are here to keep a connection, not only strong to this greater reality, but now to share it, now to kind of to break it open and show everybody else who's ready these little doorways where they can find their way into. So you're hosting this. I mean, just this right here to me is just so precious, because it's a big piece of that puzzle to get that conversation going and build its strength out there in whatever new world is coming. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you. This is my guidance, my passion. This is what I have wanted. This is what I have seen, what I've understood on maybe other dimensional levels, but didn't quite see how it worked here, because I was changed by these experiences, and it changed my language. I don't have clever intellectual language. I have presence and knowing. Those are my strengths that came from my experiences, that taught me, that I bring forward into now. But I thank you for appreciating the platform. It does feel like finally, I think we've, it's like synchronicities, you know, it's like at a certain point, it just locks in with the inner and the outer lock in. And that's when we start to see the synchronicities and the yeses, you know, in the outer world that say, yes, this is it. You're on your path now. And I enjoyed the practice time, but it was also very roller coastery, you know, like something's wrong with me because I just can't figure this out, you know, that kind of, you know, and the self-judgment cycles of, but now that we're here, these spaces have opened up, right? It's like, same thing happened at 9/11 for a short amount of time where we all went, and there was other that was coming in for a few minutes, relatively speaking, before our consciousness was then taken and placed into another direction.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that this time. We can stay with this presence and we can re-choose our pathway forward. We don't have to go, oh, authority, please show us what to think and feel and do now, right? That's the power of this moment. That's the power of this portal now. And so I am excited about bringing us together to begin to confidently share. What do you have to share? You see, we had to adapt to the world all these years. We had to adapt to your world. Now it's shifted, and others have an opportunity now, if we can stand with this and we can claim this and we can, you know, from a greater consciousness view, not an egoic view, but from this presence that we know, we would like to invite others to come and adapt to this, which one of my recent blog posts was adapting to expansion. This is a different kind of adaptation, right? Mm-hmm. As experiencers, we know this. We were forced over and over and over to adapt to expansion, weren't we? Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, Jeannie. Did you have any other, I mean, not like you can't talk anymore, but we're going to move in the direction of Zuzanna, so you can still talk. But, okay. But I want to just acknowledge, you know, what you've shared and just how it makes me feel. It makes my heart just excited and expand and joyful. And so I'm just really pleased to be back in touch with you in this way. Okay. Zuzanna, we just spoke last week or a week ago.
Last week, 1 week.
And I really felt the resonance with you. Well, back when we first, you know, met online, I felt that resonance with you. I felt that same kind of connection that I had with Jeannie. And I knew, and my inner guidance and pointers say this energy is something to stay with and to stay present with, to see what emerges, what comes. So that's why the three of us are together. And we did have another experiencer that I had invited in, and perhaps we'll get to bringing her into the conversation in a future talk, but it just didn't work out today. So it's the three of us today. So Zuzanna, we did speak recently, but I want to bring us to this place of, let's begin by asking that same question. Who are you now? who are you? What are you doing? Who are you being right now? And then talk about how the past experiences revealed these gifts to you, these this knowing that you feel inspired to share at this point. So that's a pretty open-ended question. Just feel free to dive in and respond in the way that you feel.
Okay, great, thanks. And I wanted to say, you know, Jeannie, loved everything you said. That was great. And thank you, Eileen, for doing this. I mean, I think I said to you, Eileen, last week that I feel like I've won the lottery, meeting you and then being part of this three of us, and then, you know, expanding. I'm just sort of in awe, and it's just like, you know, finally a lifetime of I don't know, validation or something like that, that I wasn't crazy, that, you know, like Jeannie said, that there's many more out there than we knew. And I think that's true, Jeannie. I do feel that now. I mean, forever I thought it was just me, and it was just like, well, it can't be just me, because I didn't think that I was particularly special ever. And I still don't, but you know, there's more out there. And, you know, like 4 months ago, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know Eileen. I didn't know Jeannie now. And I didn't have my opening experience that we talked about in the first session last week that we did. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so where am I now? Who am I now, right? I talked about this a little bit in the previous session, that I'm now a nomad. It's been about 2 years now, and I pet sit, house sit, or camp. And now I'm doing something different. I'm staying with 2 friends during this time in Virginia, because there's nobody traveling. There's no house sitting or pet sitting, and it's nice to be with friends, which is kind of odd because I'm so used to living on my own. And it's like, you know, like Jeannie said, the universe has a sense of humor. You know, I've been in solitude for 7 years. And now when everybody is been told to stay home and stay on your own, I'm living with 2 people. I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just hilarious. But I have this in my life. It's been made clear to me, or it's become clear to me in the last like 7 years or something like that, that I have this backwards life. Everything that works for everybody else never worked for me. And
Bingo.
right. And anything that works for me, people look at me like I've got 3 heads. And, you know, I'm just so tired of that. But so yeah, that's where what I'm doing sort of physically, materially. I didn't have so much, or haven't had so much the sense of sadness that Jeannie spoke of. And that's not to say that it might not come, because I have a very good handle on sadness. That's been a lot of energy in my life, is sadness. But I have felt, apart from the like, oh my God, we're here, this is happening and I'm alive for it. It didn't happen after I died. I'd always been afraid that I wouldn't quite make it to because I knew something was coming my whole life. I knew something was coming. And every time, you know, every now and again, I'd think, is this it? Is this it? And it would so not be it, not even close. And so then once I realized that this was happening, and it was concurrent with my experience with the boxes dissolving that I spoke about in our last session, awareness of the virus and everything, it just happened concurrently. And it was just like, oh my God, this is it. And now I know what I'm here for. That this is, you know, and it was just a lot of joy, a lot of, yeah, just a lot of joy. I don't even know how to explain it. But what I've noticed recently, well, you know, dotted here and there, but just recently also, is picking up on other people's fears that don't have the perspective that I have. And that's challenging, to kind of be able to be compassionate and not foist my my perspective on them, to just let them do their thing, because that's, to me, I think that I can feel that appropriately when it's time for me to talk about, well, how you might want to try to look at this, or just let them get on with it, you know? So the fear thing kind of like comes up now and again, because it's sort of seeping in. And so I am aware of that, and just kind of like working to know what's what, to know what's mine and what's something I'm picking up, you know? So that's an interesting practice to do. And I'm doing okay with it. You know, I'm doing okay with it. I'm not having any, you know, severe intensity. And I have a lot of practice with fear too, so I know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What has brought me here? I would say like the experience that I had when I was 2.5 years old made me realize, you know, you don't live in the same world that everybody else lives in. And I knew it, and I've always known it, and, you know, like all of us of the experiencers. And that made me, in many ways, trust myself more than anything out there, which I feel very grateful for. And in the largest arena that I could, that would be relevant to, would be in like the medical professions, that somebody else would know more about me than I do. You know, I mean, that to me has always been like, I've always felt very confident in taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't come from me, it came from help and guidance, you know, from these non-human intelligences, and from the stars and from the earth. And it's always been to me a very well, this is what you do. I had a friend, actually, and this was wonderful. I had a friend who had a daughter who was like 8 years old when I was interacting with them. And the child, when she was feeling poorly, she would wrap herself in her sleeping bag and go lay out under a bush. And I was like, wow, she's got it. You know, she's got it. It was so neat. And so that's kind of like, I've always been taken care of by some energy outside of me, and guided and moved, and sometimes the guidance led to something that was very, very uncomfortable, but it was always for a reason I can see now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been amazing. That's been amazing to be able to see this, you know, 60 years of or more of these little touchstones and experiences that have been like the next piece of information to integrate, or the next thing to experience and play with for a while. In the late 90s, I had an experience that to me has sort of moved me full throttle to where I am right now. You know, as opposed to the one when I was a child was just kind of like the general coloring. But I had an experience where I was on a pilgrimage to South Dakota and Nebraska, and when I got back, I was helping a friend move. Sorry, this is the first thing. I was helping a friend move to Oregon, and we stopped along the Platte River, and we had just a rest stop. We had this big, you know, truck we were driving, and her truck attached to the back, and we were sharing the driving and everything like that. And it was a real neat adventure. And we stopped along the Platte River at just a rest station once, and we were having this like incredible experience. And when we got back into the van, the truck, it was like, what was that? What happened? And then we just went on our merry way. And when I got back, you know, a few weeks later, about a month after that, she sent me a parcel, and it had a blue blow-up alien in it, which we never talked about, ever, ever, ever. a stone which had an image on it that she just found on the ground that looked like a woman holding a snake on both sides, two different like pictures.
Hmm.
And then she sent me a picture, then she sent me a novel of the life of a Native American. And I was reading, so I thought, okay, cool, you know, thank you. And I was reading this book, and about halfway through it, I started sobbing every time I picked up the book. And I wondered, what the hell was this? And then I thought, well, okay, I must have a relationship with this person. And just synchronistically at the time, I was learning shamanic techniques and that sort of stuff. So I thought I would do a journey to visit this person. And this person turned out to be sort of almost a physical being. I could see with my eyes, sort of like an overlay, you know. I could feel him sit on the bed. He came like in the morning and the evening, and he would sit and teach me for like 3 months. This was going on, and that has sort of, you know, that helped me be okay with my solitude, not being able to speak about this with anybody because it was so real. I mean, it was tangible, so tangible. It's all real, but it was so tangible. Mm-hmm. So that that really moved me in a different direction. And then I would have times where I embraced everything and times when I tried to move away from it. Still, even when that. And over the last 7 years after a divorce, I thought, the hell with it. My one prayer was, you know, help me to be authentic. Help me to find my authentic self. That's just been my prayer for the last 7 years. I was done with trying to be anything else to anybody else, you know, except who I was. And it's taken a long time. It's taken a long time. Because I didn't know who I was at that point, you know, giving up yourself for somebody else. And then you become, you know, everything kind of like disappears, gets clouded over. You don't know, it's like, who am I now? And so that's what I did for the last 7 years was finding out who I was. And again, with this place where we are right now, what happened during that 7 years, I started getting transmissions about the cycle of the great year and how everything happens, you know, this periodic cycle and with the cosmos and everything. And I started writing about it and putting that out on my blog. And what I was doing, part of me thought, oh, I'm putting that out there for other people, but nobody read it. It was, it was me, I know, right? It was me forming my cosmology.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. And, you know, at first I thought I was writing it. I mean, I was doing a lot of reading. I'm a researcher, you know, I read and can read between the lines and put all these multidisciplinary things together, you know, whereas in the sciences, you know, if you're an archaeologist, you can't do anthropology and you can't look at myths and you can't look at history. And, you know, it's just like, that made me crazy. So I would put all this information together. And as I was writing, it would just like stream out. And about halfway through, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not doing this. I finally realized, wait a minute, this is coming together so elegantly. And is so, and then I would have corroboration out in the world. You know, I'd find another book or there'd be another talk or, you know, something would come up where I was getting corroboration on it. And so I was like following this path of guidance that was just incredible. And again, that was very tangible. So I was gradually getting into this tangible realm and being okay with my solitude, not having anybody to talk to about it, to the point where I thought that maybe I'm like somebody like Julian of Norwich, not aligning my spirituality with her, you know, but that, you know, she was an anchorite in England, and where she was, her energy kind of like emanated out. And I thought, well, that's kind of like what I am. I'm completely invisible. Nobody knows me as much as, even though I've tried to put myself out there. And finally just like gave up because it was a thankless task and I didn't really want to be anyway. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just kind of like little beacon thing that people I'm around will get something off of, and they're not knowing that they're getting it from me, but they're getting it. Hey, who cares? You know, how anybody's getting it. So that's kind of like what I sort of got to. And then with this whole epiphany this year, that's changing, I think. Let me say, my interpretation of my place in the world is changing. Let's say that. I don't know what else to add to that, but I think certainly my interpretation of who I am in the world after that epiphany, and now meeting you and Jeannie, and I'm feeling the connection much more strongly now. I won't say than I ever have, but consistently more, you know? And yeah.
Thank you. I I got a little teary-eyed, relating to some of the same feelings that you were sharing.
Not surprising, eh?
No, and thank you. Thank you so much for that. That pain of being invisible and not knowing where you fit and where you belong. And yes, we are redefining ourselves now. Our context just went quantum. So naturally, we are reorienting.
Yeah.
We still have our
Mm-hmm.
we still have our same faces and bodies here for now, but we are being given more permission to bring through these gifts and these insights and humor, all of it now, without having to go, wait, what's the right context and word for this? How do we say this? Oh no, I can't say it that way. I have to say it this way because
Right.
that particular person I've noticed gets agitated when I use those words. So I have to, okay, what context? You guys can relate, right? Yeah, you have to find their context. We had to find their context and go, okay, help me deliver this, because they're asking, or, not, I've never been a pushy one. I haven't, felt a need to force, what I've learned onto people. I just keep cranking it out and making it available with relatively few people reading or watching. Right? That's why I'm sorry. I had to laugh because
It was great because it is
it's
hilarious.
so true. It's so true. And
Driven to do these things, and then it's like, zero response. Wondering what the hell is that?
I'm sorry.
I love it when you laugh. It's
God, it's just so healing, because and then I would have these dialogues, about, well, why am I doing this if I'm just completely effing invisible here.
Oh my God.
And it was always, you're not talking, you're not seeking validation and approval from this bandwidth of consciousness, consensus reality. That's not the goal, is to get that validation from consensus. There is simply the inspiration to make something else available.
Yeah.
And so it's there. It's part of the fabric of this reality now, because we contributed.
It's been brought through, and now it's kind of like available in the Akasha, as it were.
Yeah.
And then people can now, it's out there. Anybody who's on that wavelength, on that frequency, can tap into it. Yeah.
And I personally have been so grateful when we do this and we do share it. We have the courage to put it out there, because I'll come along and go, oh my God, that is the piece that makes it all make sense, right? Or it helps. It's I think what you were speaking of before, Zuzanna, is the I call it the dot connectors. People who connect the dots now are so incredibly valuable. That's not something I do, but I so appreciate the people who do, because you just bring it together and you synthesize it, and it's like, oh yes, there it is. Thank you so much. And then because you did that, I now have more energy to devote to what I do, because look, Zuzanna created this. This exists now. Now I can add to it in my own ways, right? Whatever they may be for each of us, our own ways.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. Thank you. Let's see. I suppose it's my turn.
Yes.
I just want to say ditto with both of you. It's like you've already said so much that I resonate with. I would say that at this point in time, I feel more joy than I probably should from the view of consensus reality. And I and others, we have been waiting for this moment when, as I was saying a few minutes ago, it would all make more sense. Where we would feel like this life did actually have purpose. Whereas before I could not see my value here. So our values are now shifting. We're shifting. I'm speaking about the collective consciousness. And when the values shift, this empowers what Jeanne refers to as the quiet ones. At this moment in time, I'm hearing more from the quiet ones. I get a lot of emails that make me cry and make my heart sing at the same time, because they'll say things like, I've never written to anyone, I've never spoken up, in any way. I have just been hiding and not understanding, what the hell am I living in? And they just say, thank you for doing what you do, because now I know, again, like you said, like both of you said, we're not alone. Just knowing you're not alone. And that we have gotten little to no validation for the truth of who we are. And so, of course, we didn't speak our truth under those circumstances. But now we can. And so my being and doing now, as a result of my life of contact and experiences, is about empowering people to stand tall and to claim this power that you are, and link back up to this light, this love that we know exists, but there's very few ways to articulate it in the world as we knew it, because it would have to be put in terms of religious dogma or the great philosophers, or somebody else had already decided for us and interpreted this love for us. But we felt it directly, and we know that it exists, and it doesn't fit into organized religion. There are wonderful, wonderful things that can be, that's visible within religion. But for the most part, I have found it to be a vehicle of control and suppression of that which is beautiful within us, that which is the most alive part of our being. And I believe that now, with these voices coming out, speaking the truth, that we have this connection. And it's not because we're special, it's because we're human. And the human design has this divine spark at its core for each and every individual. But unless it's demonstrated, unless it is revealed by those who have the courage to step up now and reveal it and say, this is true, and I'm accepting it, and I don't expect you to accept it. I don't expect you to do anything in response to my demonstration of it, my reclamation of it. But I'm giving you a view, perhaps, that hasn't been very visible in our reality up till now. Pieces of it, but not more wholly stepping into it as we are and we will be, according to my sources, my visions, my guidance, that this is not something that's going to happen to us, it's going to happen through us. And I want people to know that this is your choice. It's an acceptance. We as experiencers had to learn how to accept this, how to adapt to it and accept it. And now we're saying to you, this is yours. We're here just to say we experienced it, we adapted to it, we continue to adapt to it. We did not reach any kind of a finish line in any way, shape, or form. We're simply saying, this is what we learned, this is what we want to share. But in this timing, everybody gets to choose. Everybody gets to choose. And I really trust that now. Going back to my experiences, basically an evolution of absolute terror to absolute ecstasy. I learned that it was all me. It was all, nobody was doing anything, no bad beings were doing anything to me. It was my fear. And I had to recognize it and say it out loud and make that real, make it visible, so that I could look at it and say, do I prefer that? Do I prefer to carry this around with me? Do I prefer to be afraid? Do I prefer to be smaller than I am? And so on. Or am I willing to transcend this? Am I willing to surrender to love, to that, just that divine presence, whatever you want to call it? that does heal and does help us transform. And I can attest to that. This is my testimonial. But not in a church setting, not in a religious setting, but in the setting of one heart, one soul connection, one being filled with that love and that presence that says, you know, this is these fears that you carry, this is nothing. This is nothing. Just allow this light to permeate you, and you will let it go, and you will remember more, and you will be pulled forward into this new reality. Because that's what it feels like to me, is it's a magnetic pull into this new reality. It's not something that we force. It's not something that we don't think our way there. It just pulls us into it through that magnetic, that amazing magnetic energy that I have felt so often in my experiences. So, integrated as a child, then gone, trying to fit in, and then trying to find somebody in the world to see me, you know. So when you mentioned, Jeannie, about being seen, like, oh, you know, you actually see me? I had to laugh because, yeah. Oh, you know, because you do feel like you're a ghost, right? Like a ghost would say, oh, you can see me. That's cool. You know, that's what it feels like, right? Otherwise, they're just seeing your persona, right? This is what I've made myself into to properly fit in this reality. And then at a certain point, and I talk a lot about this, as you mentioned, Jeannie, and then also you too, Zuzanna, that we just get to a point where it just ain't happening. There's no energy for it. I can't keep this this Frankenstein person that I created, like, for everybody. Like, you know, I'm this way with this group of people, and I'm this way with this group of people, and you know, and it's like all these boxes, like you mentioned, Zuzanna, about, you know, that event that you had, where now that's all just melted away, and it's like, yes, it's okay to allow this being that I am, that we are, to come out now. Because in the past we were burned at the stake, or had our heads chopped off, or, you know, for claiming that power. But when there's a choice of being empowered, and maybe my head will get chopped off again, I don't know, but that's okay, because I know there's no death, and I can tune back into those times when my head got chopped off, or I was burned or whatever. We're taken from that. We don't feel the pain. We just go back and try again and again and again. And here we all are, integrating all of it, right? Including these aspects of ourself that are come in the form of non-human intelligence, but these are still aspects of us. So we're integrating not only all of our lives, all of, healing all of that, helping to heal the collective, but we're also allowing these greater aspects of ourself to be present as well. Who's Doggy?
My friends.
Oh.
He's out in the deck below the window.
Oh, so is he trying to get your attention like the cat was?
I think he's trying to get their attention. I'm upstairs, but
Oh, okay.
we've got a whole menagerie here.
Just wanting in.
And I've got a flock of chickens that was getting too close. We were getting kind of rambunctious and loud.
And that's okay. So that's
Well, I just wanted to respond to a couple of things you said, Eileen,
absolutely, yeah.
because it just brought some more pieces forward for that. One of who talked about accepting this part of us that has existed in this greater reality this whole time. I'm like, it was instantly, and, you know, kind of adding another layer to it, the non-acceptance of this smaller reality. And I say that not in a, I'm judging it as something, anything, they're saying of that, it's just that we're in a place where we're calling it out now for what it is, which is not the whole truth of what reality is. You know, it's like it's time to redefine all of that for all of us, which brings me to the other piece that I wanted to kind of come back to, and I find myself emphasizing a lot, is the realness factor of this greater reality. You know, it's not woo-woo, it's not esoteric table talk, it's not an interesting dinner conversation, it's not, you know, even the word spirituality kind of hangs people up sometimes. And because for me, it is more real than real. You know,
absolutely.
More than this cup. It's not. Yes. And the only way that can. Okay, so where I was going with that, I was like, what was it? It brought to mind one of my experiences with the non-human intelligence, from the non-human intelligence box, where I found myself in a place, in a room. It's like kind of a lot of these experiences start with me just becoming aware of, like, where am I? You know, not having any memory prior to being there, or how I got there, or where I was. Mm-hmm. That moment of awareness was I was looking at an oval table with a group of beings sitting around it. And then at the moment that they became aware that I was aware, it stopped, and I was escorted into another room, empty except for a table, a chair, and a microphone. And the talk me, no, you know, I don't have anything. All of that was there. But the reason why this came to mind when you were talking with stepping into our power was very much connected to this experience that I had in that particular one, because I watched myself start to talk. I had no idea where it was coming from. I didn't know any of this information prior to me hearing myself say it, which was very odd. But I was talking about probability lines, and I was watching and relaying a different perspective on a current event in the news at the time, which wasn't real then. This was all kind of a metaphorical thing, but I was experiencing it real. And that was were suddenly terrified that we're going to die. And what I was being shown was a grid of these beautiful, again, no words for the color, golden, shimmery lines. And the plane was on one of those lines. And it was the brightest line, it was the thickest line, because it was its highest probability. And that line resulted in a crash where no one survived. But it changed because the collective energy, the collective intention got very focused on that plane in that moment of awareness. They all woke up at the same time, and they had a shared intention of something different, of survival, of a different outcome. And the plane actually made a parallel jump. It went to another problem. They were calling, I was calling. I mean, I was speaking, but again, I was kind of back here watching the whole thing, like, what is this? A new probability line, which from that point forward became the thickest, brightest one. And I was talking about the direct connection between consciousness and the power of a shared intention within a collective consciousness, and how that impacts these 3D events that play out. in our world. So this is, and now with all of this happening, like, oh, it's the plane. I'm looking at the plane and the world's on fire.
Right.
And it feels like that story was a metaphor for the potential that's happening right now.
I agree.
The awakening of a critical mass number of people, of energies, to create a shared intention,
Yes.
to bring forward this new, beautiful potential that the whole planet can share in. And so I really, I get very, that's the part that's like, oh no, I really want to hit that home for people. The realness factor of this. Yeah. This is not, these conversations they have so many layers to them. One is to validate and acknowledge and empower that part of us that felt so wrong.
Right.
At a gut level, when I felt invisible and didn't understand my experiences and didn't felt like I fit in, and people made me feel on a cellular level like I was wrong somehow. I was made wrong. Something was wrong about me. So there's that piece of it that this conversation is healing. But I think also the greater layer of it is this empowerment piece that carries with it a realness factor that we're just now starting to wake up to. And there have been many of us kind of out in our little corners of the world in our journeys, having experiences, integrating everything. For me, I took a deep dive into personal development for a long time. I've done a lot of therapy. I've done a lot. And it's been this journey of how real is it, this idea of I create my reality, or I have an impact on my reality, or I can influence my reality. And we've all dipped our toes in it to various degrees. And there's also a varying level of belief within all of us as to how true that is. Is it really real? And this moment it's time for us to collectively walk our talk together. It's not, we're not just out here in the playground anymore, playing with the sandbox toys and, oh, that's cool. Look, when I do that, the sand falls and then I build them out.
Yeah, good analogy. Yeah.
This is this kind of gives me the sweats and the goosebumps, because it's such an incredible opportunity to be alive at this time, to participate in something on such a grand scale, and to know that it's real. It's not, an indulgent, oh, I want to go find myself thing.
Right.
So we're creating a new earth
We
right now.
are, and thank you so much for articulating
that part when you said step in our power, I'm like, yes, run with that.
Yeah, what I always want to get across to people that I work with is this is, engage your will, because we have pulled back and we have just suppressed our own will and said, I don't know, I just don't know anything. And that is not true. And you are not a victim. You can correct this in any new present moment. Step into it and say, you know what? I want to fully be here. I'm ready for this. Whatever it takes, show me. Those are the kind of words that make you show up on the radar for the cosmic intelligence, period.
Yeah. I wonder also that what we're doing right now here in this talk, if we're not creating an intention that's multiplied, because now it's not just one of us, it's not two of us, it's three of us now, and it can kind of expand out, and so we might also be able to intend you know what I mean, through these dialogues.
Absolutely. Yeah,
we're creating some kind of energy bubble or vortex or something. I'm seeing both of those that becomes the powerfulness in itself. It becomes a force in the world that we create by speaking who we are.
Right. Exactly.
It's a new energy that's happening.
Yes. And it's coming through us,
Yes.
literally.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just demonstrating it. And like, it's like, okay, if this resonates with you, run with it, go, create your own excitement and joy and unfolding in this way. But the point is to be, with all of this, what's real and what's not, we don't need to be confused about what's real and what's not. We know what's real when we're reconnected, when we're fully attuned, or even just beginning to attune to these greater aspects of our consciousness, to be willing to come online. And this also, I wanted to say something in response to your response to me, Jeanne. What I wanted to say to articulate the, coming online with these other aspects of ourself that first appear to be non-human intelligences and all these pieces, that's all us, and we're relating to it at this moment in time and through this prism as all these little separate pieces of ourselves, just as we are seeing all of humanity as, separate little pieces of ourselves. We are multi-dimensional beings. So it's a synthesis of these greater aspects of our, not greater meaning better, but more expansive bandwidth of consciousness. All the way to the groundedness of being in a physical body, a wonderful physical body, with feet on planet Earth and with the natural world. And so we were designed this way, to have that full experience, as the Mayas say, being the bridge between the heart of heaven and the heart of earth. This is who we are. And this is what we now have an opportunity to come back online with. So I want to kind of wrap things up now, because even though I could go on forever and ever, I realize that a lot of people will not even watch something if it's too long. So I like to keep it, at least under 90 minutes if I can. So thank you so much to both of you. This has been a real joy, a real pleasure. This is my excitement, and I look forward to reconnecting again and again.
Great. Yes.
Thank you.
Too. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you for being here. Yay.
Yay. And so I also just want to say, send me links to your websites, so I have it all in one place, so that when I create the verbiage below this video on YouTube, I have all of the contact information if people want to reach out to you, or go look at your content.
Just on the wild hair that they might.
Anyway, it's there if you're interested in viewing or reading it. Okay. Bless you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presence.
Thank you.